As the DHS secretary, because I remember growing up, it was the Treasury Department for some reason had the Secret Service. You had the Secret Service under your purview, and you were the boss of
That's
DHS,
right.
right?
That's correct.
Well, what should Donald Trump have had that day? Because clearly this was a catastrophic failure when he was shot in Pennsylvania.
Well, I agree with you. You know, a big part of what Secret Service does every day is protection of principles, and that includes obviously the president, the vice president, and a handful of other folks. And if you're protecting that principle and that principle gets shot, that's a failure any way you cut it. So I think there's a number of things that went wrong that day. So it's not only the investigation to understand what went wrong, but also the accountability, which we didn't see for over a week, right? It wasn't until just recently, a couple of days ago, that the Secret Service director finally resigned. That should have occurred much sooner. Your principal gets shot. That's a failure. You have to take responsibility for that. So glad she did the right thing. At the end of the day, it should not have taken almost 10 days. She should have done that early on into the investigation.
Yeah, but early on, and he hasn't changed this yet, Biden and Mayorkas both said they had 100% confidence in her, and then she was out of a job the day after that ridiculous hearing on Capitol
Yeah.
Hill. So, yeah, she took responsibility in that she's not getting a paycheck anymore, but has Mayorkas taken responsibility? Chad, I don't even think they've admitted, although we've got proof now that this happened, that the Trump campaign had been asking for more Secret Service detail, and they were turned down incessantly. When Kim Cheadle was asked about it, she said they didn't ask for it specifically for this one, but she didn't deny that they asked for it the entire time. So why is Mayorkas still walking around with a job? That's weird, no?
Well, you know, it's a good question about Secretary Mayorkas. Look, he should have resigned or been fired a long time ago. I think he's done more damage to this country, given what he's overseen at the border and elsewhere over the last 3.5 years. So I don't disagree with you. I think he should have resigned. As it relates to this, I think that's exactly right, right? Were there resources denied? Were the technology requests denied? Who was responsible for where the shooter was? Was it Secret Service? Was it local law enforcement? Did someone not do their job? Was someone posted there and they just simply didn't show up? I think all these things are what needs to come out in the investigation. But where I differ is I don't think the investigation should be 60 days or 45 to 60 days. I think it should be a couple of weeks max. These are not overly difficult questions to answer because the American people want to know what went wrong. They don't want to wait 2 months, 3 months for this. And I think we need to understand who failed at their job. Was it a planning issue? Was it a resource issue? Or was it an execution issue? Or was it all three? These are very important points because, I mean, we're dealing with the health and the safety and the well-being of the president. And if the Secret Service if this is a one-off or this is it just sort of happened this time, but this is how they operate, obviously it needs to be changed.
This video is sponsored by Private Internet Access. If you're not familiar with a VPN, listen up. This is really important. Your ISP, your internet service provider, can see every website you go to, can see where you're browsing, what movies you're watching, who you're communicating with, and they get to keep all that stuff. And later, the government can ask them about it. So instead of even dealing with that, you've got to get a VPN. I use Private Internet Access, PIA, and I want you to do so as well. It connects very, very quickly. It completely cloaks where you are, who you are, what you're doing. If you want to go on Netflix and you see some movie that's blocked in your region, you can change the region. You can actually do this with just a press of a simple button. It doesn't feel like you've done anything and the speeds are lightning fast. Click on the link in the description. Go there right now and get yourself private internet access. It's cheap, it's easy, it'll keep you protected. And you ever go to like McDonald's or to maybe a Starbucks or something, and you sit down to use their internet, you press this button, it still keeps you safe from everybody else who's on that internet. Go right now, check out private internet access. You'll be glad you did. Now back to the video. It's Chad Wolf, the Executive Director of America First Policy Institute. Go to americafirstpolicy.com. I agree with you in theory, but can we depend on this DOJ, this FBI, this Secret Service, this DHS to do the investigation properly? They're the ones that dropped the ball. Or might we have to wait for another Trump presidency to get it done right?
Well, I think you've got a couple of different things going on. You have the DHS Inspector General that's doing an investigation. He will likely look at whether the procedures that Secret Service has, were they followed. I think you've got an independent, well, I say that with air quotes, quote, independent review that is ongoing, and Secretary Mayorkas has appointed folks to that. I don't know that they're going to have access to all the information. Then you have a congressional investigation. I'm interested in that one. They should be, because they have subpoena power, they should be able to get all the records. And so you've got all of these things happening at the same time. And I think the details and the truth will come out. I'm just concerned that it's going to come out, 4 months from now. I think the American
Yeah.
people want to understand why did this happen, and they want to know now.
Former acting DHS Secretary under Donald Trump, it's Chad Wolf. Chad, as the DHS Secretary, I'm guessing you would have been there the next day, if not that night. I mean, we haven't seen Mayorkas go there at all. Cheadle never went to the site. Shouldn't somebody go there and go see what the heck happened?
100%. If I was if I was the secretary, I'd be up there within a matter of hours, most likely. The next
Right.
day, absolutely. I would have had the Secret Service director in my office, shortly thereafter saying, what went wrong? And I need additional information. I need it now. What can we tell the American people other than just nothing, other than there's an investigation? We've got to be able to tell. And you heard that, right? You heard that from the FBI director on Tuesday, a day after Director Cheadle testified, when Director Cheadle said, I can't really tell you much, investigation's ongoing, but why can the FBI director sit down and tell us some information? He provided the American people and members of Congress some new information. It wasn't complete by any stretch, but he did provide more information that we had otherwise not known. And why couldn't the director do that? So I think there is, obviously she had credibility issues, there was transparency issues, and then there was just not doing your job and not executing on your job. So I think she has, she did the right thing. She resigned, but there's still a lot more to unfold here.
You've seen the scene, right? From overhead. I'm guessing you've seen some of the mapping and the grids that I've seen. That was a direct shot that a 9-year-old could have taken. It doesn't make any sense that there was nobody on that roof. First, it was too sloped. Then we find out, Chad, that there were a bunch of people inside that same building where the guy was on top. We're now finding out today that he was known to the Secret Service at least an hour earlier, if not more than that. He's got a rangefinder. I mean, this wasn't just like, okay, one mistake and this guy got off a lucky shot. This guy was there casing the joint for hours, it seems. So what would the normal procedure be? Would you not have somebody on that roof that was so apparently a clear shot at the podium?
Well, you would definitely have the roof secured, and you can secure that roof a number of different ways. You can station an officer on the roof.
Yeah.
You can make sure that any access to the roof, such as stairwells, outside access, is secure and locked down so no one can actually get on the roof. So there's a variety of different ways. Obviously, that didn't happen here. And the question is, why did it not happen? Was it not planned for? Did no one anticipate? Did no one have the imagination that someone could get on that roof? And so they didn't even think about it. Or did they say, hey, you are responsible for ensuring that no one makes it on this roof and obviously has that perch. And that individual, whoever it is, maybe it's Secret Service, maybe it's local law enforcement, simply didn't do their job.
Right.
They failed to execute, and you got to hold them accountable. So all these things, I mean, right now we're kind of guessing. I think the American people can see it's crazy that the top of that structure was not locked down to ensure the president's safety, given the close proximity it was to that stage. Everyone can see that. You don't have to be a Secret Service agent to understand what's going on there. It was a colossal failure. Now, the question is, who? Now, the buck stops with the Secret Service because they're there to protect the president, but that's not enough. We need to understand who didn't do their job that day. Is it the Secret Service? Is it the leadership because they didn't provide the resources? Is it middle management because they just didn't think of this in the planning stage? Was it the people on site who maybe said, I've got that, and then they just didn't do their job? Or was it local law enforcement? All these things will come out in this investigation.